Hello, Maya.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good. It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. Yeah. Thank you for being such a fan of the show. That's so lovely.
Of course, I am obsessed with the sex lives of college girls. So,
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah. Yeah, so who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Geez, I mean, I think it's kind of hard for me to answer anyone other than Mindy Kaling at this point. Our career paths were so interesting in that we operated in similar universes but had never really met. Like I was on the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine as a writer producer for like many years, which had like a similar DNA comedically and storytelling wise to the Mindy Project. So some writers would bounce back and forth between the two. One of which was this writer named Lang Fisher, who then created Never Have I Ever with Mindy. And Lang and I really hit it off at Brooklyn when she was there, and we really leaned on each other and liked each other's stuff. So when Never Have I Ever was ordered, Lang was like, "I'm bringing Justin over on his like summer break from seasons at Brooklyn," and that's when I met Mindy, and we really interacted for like a couple months as we launched what would become Never Have I Ever. And then I go back to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and all of a sudden I get like a call from Mindy being like, "Hey, do you want to like create a show together? Like it's for HBO Max as they're calling it right now, and it can be whatever we want it to be, and it's straight to series. We just got to figure it out." And I was like, "Yes." So that's the way that went down, and so it's hard for me to say anyone other than that.
Oh, wow. I love that. Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
I would say my husband probably. Could you imagine if I said anyone else? He'd be very upset. I think being in a long-term relationship really gives you a lot of perspective on life and everything that is seeming like life or death, but really is, just day to day trivialness. So he really is like an anchor for me and reminds me what's truly important. And yeah, makes me a better person.
Love that. Yeah.
I guess I
So
would also say my mom because she like birthed me. Without that moment, I probably wouldn't be here today if I hadn't been born.
I love that. Yeah. Um, so how did the idea for the sex lives of college girls come about?
Mindy and I had both independently started talking about doing a show set in college, a college comedy. Um, and I had tried it a couple years earlier. And a pretty interesting thing happened, at least interesting to me. Sometimes writing is not interesting to other people, but I wanted to develop this show, and a producer who I was talking about it with was like, "You can't really do comedy and TV with about college because there's no stakes. What are the stakes for the characters? Oh, they get a C instead of a B. That's not life or death, and that's why so many TV shows are about professions that have like huge stakes. Like doctors and lawyers and judges or whatever. Um, but to me, that never felt real because stakes are relative to how a character feels them, and no one feels stakes the way that someone who is 18 years old and has their full life ahead of them does. Everything is so important to them. So I knew there was an opportunity to tell a story about characters who were passionate about what they were doing, becoming the people who they were meant to be, and having some fun stories and good jokes along the way.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what are people surprised to learn about you?
What are they surprised to learn about me? I don't know. I'm actually like uncomfortably an open book, I would say. I'm a bit of a chatterbox. I like can talk forever with anyone and I kind of say whatever I'm thinking. Um, I guess sometimes it surprises people that for a long time I thought my career path would be like singing and performing, like almost like musical theater. That sometimes people learn that and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, why? Why is that so surprising? But I don't know. I really I don't tend to surprise people, I feel like. Maybe
Mm.
someone will come out in the comment section and be like, here's a surprise about him. Uh, but I think I'm pretty straightforward.
Oh, yeah. Um, so, okay, now that you mentioned musical theater, what is your favorite musical?
Oh wow. That is tough because I love so many of them. I have a severe soft spot for the musical Ragtime. I think it ran like in the late 90s, early 2000s, which is I think why a big part of it, why it was important to me, because it was like when I was finding musical theater in a real way. And I grew up in New Jersey, so we would go on like field trips to go to New York and see a show in like high school and middle school, and that was commonly a show we would see. And it just has great songs. There were such good performances. Audra McDonald was in it when she was young. Like it was a standout for me. There were many hours spent in the back of my parents' SUV, like listening to the original cast recording. Um, yeah, I think that probably made it less surprising to my parents when I came out of the closet because they were like, "Yeah, you really liked that."
Oh, I love that. I have not heard that one, so I'm writing that down to listen
Yeah,
to.
it's very interesting. They last year tried to do like a I don't know if it was the 20th anniversary or some anniversary, but they did a very limited engagement in New York, like 20 shows. And I'm hoping that that was like a litmus test to see if they'll bring it back in a new performance, but in a new production. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I am obsessed with musicals. So I
What's
have
your
so
favorite musical?
um oh, there's
It's
so many
it's
that
impossible. You can't.
yeah.
You can pick any three that are in your favorites. How about that?
Okay. Yes, I think yeah. Okay, I'd have to say Spring Awakening, Dear Evan Hansen,
Great.
and Hamilton.
They're all great. They're all so
Yeah.
good. My husband
Yeah.
is obsessed with Leah Michelle. And so Spring Awakenings music is playing quite a bit around us. I'm actually sitting next to a poster for Funny Girl that she was in
Yeah.
because yeah, he was like such a fan of Barbara and her, and when that was coming back to Broadway like a couple years ago, he was like, "We absolutely must go," and so we did, and we met Leah, and she was the nicest that could be.
Oh, oh wow, that's incredible. I love that. Yeah, I actually I've interviewed a few people from Spring Awakening, from the original cast, and I interviewed Steven Sater, who
Cool.
wrote it, and which was so cool. I think I lost all my words when I was talking with him.
I love that. That's so nice.
Yeah.
I also love your Marilyn Monroe art on the wall with the bubble gum. That's
Oh, thank
my
you.
my mother-in-law loves that, and she was actually just trying to find like a painting of that to put in her place like a couple weekends ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I love that picture. Yeah. Um, so do you have any irrational fears?
Yes. I have so many. I'm a very like anxious person. I am like made fun of it among my friends because of it. Like I can turn any situation into a reason to be afraid of something. It's my superpower. Someday maybe I'll fix it for myself, but no, I'm full of irrational fears. I remember one time in New York, when I lived there before I moved to LA, I started to have this irrational fear of not seeing cars as they were like driving down the street. and I was going to get like hit by a car that I just didn't see, um, which led me to be like, you don't have to be afraid of like invisible vehicles. So that is as irrational as it gets. Um, but yeah, I try my best to be a little bit more of like a manifester and send good vibes out to myself. It's not the way I'm like naturally wired, I would say. So it's a little bit of a lifelong effort to become a little more of that and a little less worrisome.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Ooh, I think when I first started writing to break into TV, I was very scared of the odds in front of me that it would work out. I really wanted to be a comedy writer. I was living in New York at the time, and I wanted to move to LA and try TV. And I like had a day job. I was making no money and I was like trying to save up money to move to LA. And at that point I saved up like $1,500. It was like enough to literally go cross country and that's it. And I remember as I was about to like start my journey with everything I owned, I like became very overwhelmed at the odds in front of me. And I like pulled behind like a supercuts in rural New Jersey and just like sobbed, and was just like terrified of what this would be like if it went wrong. And then I got here to LA and I started writing some scripts. And you know, it's the classic story that you see in a lot of content about Hollywood, where it's like, yeah, we like this, but then nothing happens. And then eventually I like got a job, um, which was incredible. And I felt so blessed to have that happen. But um, it wasn't the most welcoming space for queer people. And there were a lot of like buzzwords that were thrown around that should not be said. And because of it, I kind of stayed closeted at that job. And I spiraled a little bit internally, and it didn't quite work out. I think it showed in my uncomfort and performance. And so after that, I was like, oh my God, what if I've thrown away my opportunity? What if I got it and I lost it for reasons that were like pretty much out of my control, not fully out of my control, but definitely somewhat out of my control. And I think I tried to use that as a bit of a superpower and like push myself to write things that were undeniably me, and authentically me on the page. Um, and that really worked for people. And the first thing that I wrote right after that, I wrote it to be like a sample to get me hired, and I was like a baby writer. Um, and it instead sold through to a studio and a network that wanted to like, you know, produce it and develop it. And it was way beyond my dreams of what it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm very sorry that you had to go through that. And yeah, I think it is very impressive, everything that you have done. And yeah.
Thank you. I'm just trying to entertain people. I've been like a little ham my entire life. I was like the kid who was performing in front of family cameras, almost obnoxiously forever to just keep my parents' friends entertained when they came over for dinner. So I'm just doing a new version of that now on TV shows.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Um, so I just have two more questions for you. What are the songs that make you sing along whenever you hear them?
Wow. Well, funnily enough, last night I was like finally trying to like get a bunch of things off my to-do list. And I was like sitting right here and I was like, you know, doing, you know, very menial tasks. And I put on like a Spotify playlist. And it was very musical theater oriented. But You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen came on. And I was like singing along to it myself. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to replay it. And I'm singing along to it. And then I'm singing to my dog and I'm like seeing him like wag his little tail. And then it just was on repeat one for like 2 hours. So that is at the very least the most recent example of that. But I am a constant singer. If I'm in the car, if I'm alone cleaning up, I'm usually with music on singing.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah, I have music on all the time, and it's always Ben Platt.
Oh
That
yeah.
is on repeat,
Yeah.
on repeat.
I also love his version of River, that I think was part of the Politician soundtrack, but like
Yeah.
that gets heavy circulation here too, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, my family and I've been such a fan of his for the longest time. He has been one of my favorites. And he came to Denver over the summer, and I had always wanted to see him live. And my family and I went to see him live. And the moment he walked on stage, I just immediately
Aw,
started bawling.
I love that. That's so nice. Oh, I'm so glad you
Yeah.
got that experience.
Thank you. Yeah, it was the coolest night ever.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
nice.
Um, so my final question for you is so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is from one of my favorite movies, and it's Jump In, No Fear. Um, is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
There is. I am pulling up my phone because I literally like look at it every day. And while I could quote it directly, I'll read it and then show it. I found this quote. It's a Barbara Walters quote, but it just says, "Do it now. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't think about it. Do it now." And I think for creative purposes, that is something that really resonates to me because it's so common that you can just let something linger and fester and then all of a sudden you're not quite getting to it or doing it and then you're like, what was that idea again? And there's something that just inspires me and resonates with me about like the idea of like if there's something that brings you joy or something that excites you, just do it right then. Like you can rearrange your schedule probably and just get it done. You don't have to sit down and watch The Traders tonight. Look, I would love to, and I like will. But if something else struck, I could like do this first, and then everything else I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love Barbara Walters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I love
pretty
that.
accomplished, inspiring lady for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, that was my final question for you.
Oh,
I can't tell you how much this means to me to be talking with you right now. You've made my day, so thank you so
oh,
much.
thank you, Maya, and thank you so much for these kind words. I feel like I don't deserve them, but thank you so much. Thank you for being a fan of the show. I will tease this, the finale doesn't come out for like another 6 hours for season three, but there's a big musical theater moment for you that I think you will enjoy, hopefully.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yay. All right. Well, thank
Yeah,
you so much. It's so lovely meeting you and chatting with you.
you too.
All right. All the best, Maya.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.